Good morning, everyone, especially our dear Basconians and our dear lay mission partners, dear Salesian educators. Today is September 11, 2020, and 28 years ago, Father Alfred Cogliandro SDB died here in Canlubang. And you know very well that we have a building named after him, the Cogliandro House, where a good number of our lay mission partners are staying. Those who are teaching here, especially these days when there's the new normal of not having to or not being able to deliver our lessons face-to-face. Some of our teachers have opted to stay here, and they're staying in the Cogliandro House. And that is where Father Cogliandro stayed for many years. You know, he is a very saintly man. When I came here in 1989 as a seminarian, he was one of our confessors. And you know, it's always a privileged moment to hear him speak at the Good Night Talk every weekend. And I'd like to tell you something about him. I would like to read from this book that was written by Father Remo Bati SDB. And this is the book, Passing on His Brilliance, the Salesian Pioneers in the Philippines, 1951 to 1963. It's a book of compilation of testimonies on the first missionaries here in the Philippines, the pioneers. And in one section, there's this article on Father Alfred Giuseppe Cogliandro SDB. And he was born in 1911 and died in 1992. By the way, his tomb was there in the old cemetery, and then their remains were transferred here in the new cemetery. And here it's in this area. I'll point out the tombstone to you. This one, okay? So this is his tombstone, so to say. But then continuing, I continue to read from the book of Father Bati. So Father Cogliandro was born in Genoa, Italy on 16th of May, 1911. On 30th of January, 1943, he was ordained priest. And in 1950, so he was ordained priest in Delhi, and in 1950, he was sent to the USA to be the provincial of the West Province based in San Francisco, and that was from 1950 to 1962, 2 terms. After his term, he was sent to Manila to be its first provincial, 1963 to 1969. Before the Philippines became a province, that it was a visitatory or a vice province, and the superior was Father Charles Braga, Father Carlo Braga. And the first provincial, when it became a provincial, is Father Alfred Cogliandro. So Father Cogliandro was a man who believed that God would take him at the most appropriate time. And for this, he always tried to live the present moment with love. By the way, he was novice master to a lot of batches among the Filipinos here, the Filipino Salesians. And I think right until the batch of Father Chris Magbitang, Father Eugene Maglasang, Father Bong Osyal, and the others. So that was the last batch that he had. And then afterwards, he was full-time here in Canlubang. So for him, to live this life without loving God was to miss life altogether. And what counted most for him was the love we put into one's life, was the love one put into one's life. And he did not fail in this. And his common expression about himself is povero Cogliandro. So il povero Cogliandro, poor Cogliandro, was a very simple man, frugal in his ways and constantly detached. And he left the USA after his term as superior. And he never came back to get what he left behind. He believed that no one was indispensable, and he was a man with a keen sense of order and neatness, and one who edified, faithful to duty, available, cheerful, and amiable to one and all. The Salesian Society is the most wonderful thing that God has given life in that last century of ours, he said. And he in return gave him his entire life generously and faithfully in the Salesian Society until his last breath. You know, one thing I remember about him, it's a pity that I was not here in Canlubang when he died. I was a novice in Bacolod at that time, and we heard of his demise at that time. But when I was a postulant, or in the pre-novitiate sector at that time, I was in charge of filling up the bottles for the drinking water, and he would always pass by, and then he would comment, no? If the gospel says that if you give a cup of cold water to anyone to anybody because he's a follower of mine, and then the Lord continues, no? Then there will be a great reward. And then Father Cogliandro would say, this is not only a cup, these are bottles. And he said, you'll be drowning in heaven, he said, with his usual candor and humor. And we remember him for that. And today we pray, especially for his eternal repose. Now, since he is a saintly man, if he is before the Lord, and he is praying for all of us here. So one who spent many years of his life here in Canlubang. And so we do remember these pioneers of ours. Father Cogliandro was very influential with the growth of Canlubang, and I do hope that we pray. You can pray through him, of course, not officially as in our liturgical prayers, but we can pray through him that Canlubang will continue to be faithful to Don Bosco's way of education, in the manner that he has envisioned for all of us, he and the other pioneers of this institution. God bless you all. Have a good day.